Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Mojave County Building Code and Advisory Board meeting for June 24th, 2005. I now call this meeting to order, and I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance if we may. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to have roll call now, if we may, please.
Chairman Richard Hamilton.
Here.
Vice Chairman Peter Profit. Board Member Doug McKee.
Here.
Board Member Keith Walker.
Here.
Board Member Dan Renner. Board Member Rex Ruge.
Here.
Sorry. Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. It's been determined that we have a quorum for this advisory code board meeting. Also, I'm looking for, at this point in time, I'm looking for an approval of the minutes from January 14th, 2025. Have we all had a chance to go over these minutes?
Chairman, yes, I did, and I'd make a motion to approve.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from January 14th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes pass. Moving on down the agenda, old business. We do not have any old business at this point in time. However, we do have new business. And the new business that we have is regarding residential water heaters replacement permits. And at this time, I would like, if we could, staff to speak on this matter before I have a call to the public.
Thank you, Chairman Hamilton, board members. Item 1 on our agenda is a discussion of possible action regarding residential water heater replacement permits. A little bit on the background of this. Basically, at the Board of Supervisors meeting on April 21st, 2025, a citizen from the public during call to the public questioned the need for obtaining a permit for residential water heater replacement. There was some brief discussion between the supervisors, and Supervisor Martin instructed staff to research and propose different options for residential water heater replacement permits. Within those proposed options were option 1, require a permit and inspection. This would require no change to the current building ordinance or procedures. Option 2 was make a permit and inspection voluntary. If we chose that route, it would we'd have to amend the building ordinance to accommodate that. And then option 3 was do not require a permit or inspection, and that also would require an amendment of the building ordinance. A little history on hot water heaters. I've been in the industry for 38 years. I worked under the UBC codes. Basically, the UBC codes prior to 2000 and the international building codes currently all have required hot water heater permits and replacement permits. The construction industry, the plumbing industry also requires those permits basically under the Contractor's License Board. Through the years of technology, we've seen a lot of advancements. There's been a lot of different things. Currently, we're talking about the tank hot water heaters that currently are for residential and commercial, but just for residential we're talking about today. There's been a lot of other methods now. We have, the tank heater is the most common for residential, and it's the least expensive. The industry now provides other systems like high efficiency units, on-demand units, solar applications, boiler systems, and hydronic heating systems that also supply hot water to the residents or the dwelling. The code addresses these individually as the codes and technology advances for safety and installation requirements. This discussion today we're having is just possible discussion and action in regards to tanked hot water heaters for residential, either gas or electric. So we did some surveying of some other of the counties and cities. It turns out that basically 15 of the counties, 2 of the counties in the state do not require permits. One of them being Greenlee County, they don't even have a building department, so they don't require permits for anything. The other was La Paz County, but I thought it was interesting, in their fee schedules, they do have a fee for a hot water replacement permit. So, everybody, pretty much all the states, or all the counties require it. The city of Kingman, city of Bullhead, and city of Lake Havasu also require permits for a replacement. County permit statistics, we went back to 2022. Our records indicate 45 permits were obtained, 93 of those permits were contractor pulled, 7% were owner builders, and it had a correction rate of 10%. So even though 93% were contractors, we still had, per se, an 8% failure rate or corrections that were needed, even though contractors installed those systems. Same thing with 2023. You can look at your list. 22 permits were pulled, 82% were contractors, 18% were owner builders, and at this one we had a 29% correction rate, which is pretty high. This is in your packet there. I'm not going to read all the way through, but to date right now, 25 to date, we've done 33 permits. 91% of those were contractors, 9% were owner builders, and we have a 6% correction rate on that. In your packet, I have provided a handout. Basically, there was a handout from the Fine Home Builders magazine. It's dated January 2020, and it basically has the 10 hot water heater they call code violations, we just call they're not installed correctly. And I'm going to go through some of those with some slideshow at the end, but some of those are, there's little things. There's different problems with electric hot water heaters versus gas hot water heaters, and I'll go into some more of those on a slideshow for you to indicate those, but be aware of those. The other is I put it in your packet, an information sheet, which is basically what we hand out of residential construction, basically water heater replacement permits, and it goes through some of the issues and some of the corrections we found out in the field, and as we do these inspections. Another handout in your packet is also just an information sheet on permits, or things that are not required to have a permit. I'll just say, water tank supported, private sidewalks, slabs, and driveways. So there's a whole list within the building code and also our ordinance that we've exempted out from permit. One that you're probably familiar with is block walls up to 7 feet in height. We did used to require permits for those, and we don't currently. Just some information. I know I was in touch with La Paz County. They did not require hot water heater permits, replacement permits, for several years, and I can't find the date, but I'm going to say recently, but within the last 5 years, they started requiring permits for those. And what they indicated, and they did some research, and I've done some research, I didn't get it back today, but one aspect is the gas company on gas hot water heaters. When your gas service is turned off, they basically have to come out and inspect your appliances to turn those back on. La Paz, off the top of my head, said in a 18-day period, they had 12 hot water heaters, and I think it was 10 of them failed inspection through Unisource. Unisource has some numbers for me right now. I didn't have it available for you. Unfortunately for that, I will probably have it for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And I can also follow up with you guys and give you those numbers. We'll make those available. Let's see. So those handouts are there. Common inspection fails. We'll go into PowerPoint presentation now. I think they have to, there we go, put it on. This is these arrows and stuff. So the top arrow is a temperature pressure relief valve. This is a really important item on hot water heaters, basically because of thermal expansion. If that valve fails, basically you have a pressure vessel, and that relieves that pressure and also relieves the temperature. In this picture, basically it's supposed to be a hard line ran all the way down to the ground or a drip pan or out to the exterior. So you're not allowed to use a flex line in between the two, and it has to be an open pipe, gravity fed straight down. And you'll see some other pictures on this. Also, this valve prevents damage to the structure if it's an interior installation. Typically, these are in garages, and we consider the slab not damaged if it leaks. It leaks out the front because the garage floor is angled to the opening. But if they're inside the house, they're required to have a drip pan. Obviously, this one doesn't have it. The other is, a lot of times the hot water heater isn't correctly set temperature-wise, and so this is some of the installation stuffs we're seeing. Another one, this is, and again, this is a pressure relief valve right in the middle, and it's got, it goes uphill and out the wall, and so these are supposed to be gravity fed straight down. They're not to be pressurized to go up, or the valve fails. And if the valve fails, then you don't have a pressure relief valve. This one basically requires a sediment trap on gas installation. Sediment trap is a little piece of pipe that sticks down from the pipe, and it basically collects moisture and debris. Although not being a safety hazard, it basically, if water and debris gets into the burners, it basically cuts the life of the hot water heater. So that's something the code put in several years ago of the longevity of the appliance is on that, because of propane and gas have, debris and moisture in it. Another one was we look at is sizing the gas line correctly. We have a lot of cases where you might have a 40-gallon hot water heater and somebody changes that out with a 50-gallon hot water heater. You typically have to upsize the line from 3/8 to 5/8. So that's something we're looking at also, and that also is based on the BTU rating of the hot water heater on the nameplate of it. Another one is, again, the drip pan is required if it's inside the house and can cause damage if it ever floods or ever breaks. And then in garages, the hot water heater is required to be elevated at least 18 inches from any ignition source on a gas hot water heater. Do gas hot water heater again. A lot of things we see are flues. A lot of the flue stuff and re-insulation. And I go back to, it was mentioned, hot water heaters shouldn't be that difficult. You don't think it's that important. Most changeouts are they call like for like. But our one question is, was the hot water heater ever installed correctly? Now, we know in new home construction, we obviously do an inspection of that. But the unit might last 5 years, 10 years, and then they've got to change it out. So you go to Home Depot, you buy it, or have a handyman buy it, and they install it, and it was installed incorrectly. You change it again, and it's still installed incorrectly. So that's what we're seeing a lot in the field. Go back to this slide. Again, the hot water heater flue is very important for back gassing and not providing carbon dioxide into the house. So that's something we see a lot of improper piping. And I have some more pictures in here that I can show you. Some of the other things in this picture is dissimilar metals. Although not being a safety hazard, it does corrode the pipes, and then longevity, and get leaks in the in-run. So those are some things. Electric hot water heaters, the biggest one we see is usually the electrical line is not correct. In this picture, this electrical line should be in conduit and also should have a connection device at the top of the hot water heater. This is subject to damage. You could pull on it and it can break, and it's just a bad installation. And it should be secured to the wall also. Incorrect wiring, we've seen that where the wire size is not adequate for the amperage of the electric hot water heater. So that's something we also check out in the field. Wire connectors, again, provided at the connection of the hot water heater. This picture has about the same thing, and it doesn't have connectors. I think that's the same picture almost. There we go. So there's another one we see is, somebody pulled the line in, it's not in conduit, they just wire tie the things together and don't connect it basically to the hot water heater. Here's some gas ducting that we see. Some people think the aluminum ducting for clothes dryers is adequate for this. This is a double picture that this piping is not rated for high BTU use, and it's also going downhill. Anytime you have a hot water heater gas, it basically is a gravity vent. Hot air goes up, it doesn't go sideways. So basically it would backdraft into the house and fill that room up with carbon monoxide. Here's another picture of insulation where it's just incorrect. It's going to backdraft and not go out that flue. Here's one we come across. We've seen a couple of these. Actually, this is one of our pictures. This hot water heater was relocated to a closet and put in front of an electrical panel. Just bad insulation. I mean, you can't get to the electrical panel, plus it's near water. It's just a double wrong. So some of the, and I put in some pictures of some of the new stuff we're seeing, or not, I would say new, but manufactured homes have their own specialized water heater. I'm not sure what the difference is in the two besides the inlet for the waters on the side of the unit. But they are mobile home rated, and they can only be put in mobile homes, or you can only put these in mobile homes. Here's a high efficiency furnace. They basically, the flues now can be PVC pipe, so they're a direct vent type hot water heater that's very efficient. We're starting to see more of those. We're starting to see more on-demand systems. This one's pretty extensive, but this is typical of what we're seeing. And when you put this system in, you have to upsize the gas lines. You have to upsize different things. Obviously, the flue system's different. So there's some, some intricacy on this. And then we're seeing a lot more hydronic heating. So a lot of the hot water heater systems now are running, floor heating and stuff like that, wall heating. So we're starting to see that a lot in the industry. Those are some of the pictures of the common fails we see. In conclusion, the hot water heater is an integral part of the residential dwelling plumbing system. The hot water tank is a water pressure vessel that has the potential to explode on thermal expansion. It contains boiling water and has the potential to burn and scald. Electric water heaters have the potential electric shock hazard, and gas water heaters have the potential for fire and asphyxiation hazards. The building code addresses all these potential hazards and provides standards for safe installation and use of these systems. Mojave County does not require a licensed plumber to install a hot water heater. The do-it-yourself homeowner or the handyman for hire can perform the work. However, if the homeowner hires a handyman to perform the work, if the work is faulty or later causes damage, the homeowner has no recourse through the Arizona Register of Contractors, since the person was not a licensed contractor. And we've seen quite a few of that, of civil lawsuits coming back on work that's been done that the homeowner has no idea and has no recourse back through any of the government agencies for that. The purpose behind the building codes is to give a reasonable assurance that a home is safe from structural failure, fire hazards, gas system hazards, electrical shock, and health risks. Permits provide a permanent record of the work performed and inspections conducted on the project. While the hot water heater is somewhat universal, the installation is critical for life safety. As seen in the PowerPoint presentations, numerous installation errors can occur, making an inspection important. And our staff's recommendation is that we continue to obtain permits and inspections for residential hot water heater replacements. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to answer them, or I think we go in the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Smaby. Does anybody have any questions?
How much does it, just maybe, Mr. Chairman, cost for a permit right now?
$73.15, which is pretty cheap insurance for a 5-year hot water heater.
And second question, how many times does the inspector have to go out for it? Do they have to do a pre-inspection, pre-plumb, and after just
One time.
a single?
I had a question. What is the permit process? How long does it take to get this particular permit? Because this is typically an emergency situation to some degree.
There is a provision in the code that if it is an emergency, the contractor or homeowner can install the unit and within 24 hours call for a permit. The other part of it is it's an over-the-counter permit, and with our online permitting, you could obtain the permit and install that day. And our inspection schedule right now is you install it today, you call us today, we'll be out tomorrow to inspect.
All right, thank you.
Gilbert, do we still offer owner-occupied permits on electrical where we waive the fee? They still need to get a permit for electrical upgrades?
I'm not sure.
We used to offer that?
I'm not sure what we do have owner-builder permits,
I'm
but
talking like a service upgrade when an electrical service has gone bad. In the past, I thought the county had it where if it was an owner-occupied residence, there was no fee, but they still had to get a permit.
that's not,
Hasn't been
as
that
far
way?
as I've been here, no, that has not been correct.
Maybe I'm
Like, again, we do the emergency
confused.
service, we allow the work to be conducted, and then at the most reasonable point, typically 24 hours, is to pull permit and have inspections.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Smaby. At this time, I'd like to have a call to the public. I would like to remind them, the people that are here to speak, that you have, it says on your paper 2 minutes, but we have decided for 3 on this matter. So first, I'd like to call Mr. Chuck, I have trouble pronouncing it. So Shazer, thank you so much.
Well, first off, I'd like to present this. It's a foundation documents for this board that says you guys don't have the right to even interpret the administrative provisions of the code. You can tell us what we need on materials and procedures, but the permit itself falls under the scope and administration, so you guys can't vote and pass this on to the planning and zoning. Secondly, I'd like to present, I guess, what would be considered misspeakings, mistakes, or flat-out lies, whichever you want to call it. This is what I got from a Freedom of Information Act on how many permits were pulled for 22, 23, and 24. And it comes down to 22 is 37, 23 is 18, and 24 is 16, not the 45, 22, and 36 as presented today. The next thing I'd like to present is in the conclusion portion of this packet that they gave you. It talks about hot water heaters contain boiling water. If they contain boiling water, you'd have steam coming out your shower head. You don't have boiling water in a normal functioning, and that's not going to be something covered by inspections. The next thing would be that a lot of the Mojave County areas are not covered by fire districts or even insurance to that point, because an insurance company will not insure a house that doesn't lie within a fire district, let's say. And yet, these guys want you to get an inspection on a hot water heater for insurance reasons. We've now moved firefighters from Yucca over to Golden Valley, so the response time is several hours, for the insurance company to show up after the house is gone. The next thing is that they have given you, the proposal is saying keep things the way they are, make it voluntary, or remove the permit entirely. They've not given you 3 options. They've only given you the one option that the staff recommends, and that's what it comes down to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call Mrs. Esposito. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
You bet.
Jennifer Esposito, Mojave Free Press newspaper. I would like to recommend proposal number 3. I was at the April 21st meeting listed in the memorandum, and I would say that the background information is wholly deficient as to what transpired at that meeting. The Board of Supervisors overwhelmingly wanted this permit repealed, and they basically told staff, whatever the process is for that, get it done. And we're basically told that it had to go through you guys and then on to Planning and Zoning to come back for them for a vote. At that meeting, Supervisor Borelli actually said, I didn't even know we needed a permit, I just changed my own water heater. The reality of the situation is that people have been changing their own water heaters since before there was a building code. The reason that 15 counties have this is because boards tend to adopt the international codes as a whole. They say, okay, up or down. They don't read the 1,000+ pages or whatever in the individual codes. And the codes all sort of come together in a bundle before them for a vote. The International Building Code comes with the International Property Maintenance Code, which says that you have to bag your goat poop a certain way in the unincorporated areas, and nobody enforces that either. The reality is that unless the county were to have a way to track every single water heater sold at Home Depot or Lowe's or Best or whatever, and, you know, be invasive in that way to make sure that everybody's getting a permit and enforce this thing equally, it becomes like the theater of the absurd. You know, most people either realize their limitations. Nobody wants their house to burn down. Nobody wants an electrical fire. If you're using a gas water heater, you usually, if you replace it yourself, you call the gas company and say, please come for free and inspect my water heater and light it yourself and make sure I did it right. You know, most people can look at something and determine that they can replace, as you said, like with like, and say, I took a picture of it before, I took a picture of it now, I hooked everything up properly. And most people are also aware of their limitations and that they need to, when they need to, hire a professional. So really, all you need to do is take all this wonderful information in your memorandum, put it into a PDF downloadable on the county website, how to properly install a water heater, and then put on each step, when in doubt, call a professional. You know, because the idea that having to have a permit and having to go through a contractor is a false sense of security. And no disrespect to those of you who are contractors, but being a contractor, you know how many contractors have lost their contractor's license for various reasons. So that's not even a guarantee. It's just an extra fee that's implemented on a few people a year who are even aware of it, and most people didn't even know this existed. Please do the right thing and choose item 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I only have the 2 people to speak. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Please, if you could, state your name and your address.
Thank you. My name is Karen DeShazer. I live in Golden Shores, Topak, Arizona. The only thing I'd wish to add is the information sheet for the residential construction, which does not require a permit. I don't believe that Supervisor Martin asked for a list of what things don't require a permit. And when I first encountered this, I thought, I'm a little insulted. Now, you gentlemen are very knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than I am about things that should have permits, do require permits, but when I'm told that we should be happy that we don't need a permit to replace a broken or damaged light fixture, you mean a light bulb, to replace approved fuses, to replace tile or grout, I believe is in here. There's quite a few things in here that I've learned not to be so sensitive to the way I feel, but sometimes I feel like I'm being talked down to on this list, and certainly with professionals like yourselves, you didn't need this information. And this took a little while for someone to sit down and put together, and it was not asked for. I just don't see the need for this list. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open this up to anybody else for a call of the public that has not spoken yet, if there was anybody else. If not, is there any discussion from the board on this at this time? Well, before I go into discussion on the board, I do want to mention that parts are correct. We do not have the authority to change or rewrite the code in any way whatsoever. The purpose of this board and the recommendations that we're here for, and our attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, is we make recommendations as professionals to the Board of Supervisors on health and safety of the public. And what is brought to us of our knowledge, for an example, water heaters, whether it should stay permitted or not to be inspected or not. As a contractor myself, and seeing things done improper or unsafe, I don't mind that. As mad as I get at the building department at times for failing inspections, they are looking out for the best interest of the public and myself as well as the rest of us. So again, I wanted to remind the public as well as the board, all we are here for is to make recommendations of the code as professionals to the Board of Supervisors. So with that said, I would like to open up discussion of the board on this matter, if we could.
Mr. Chairman, just as a matter of procedure, we need to close the public hearing. You can just say, I close the public hearing, and then you can move into your discussion.
Thank you. I close the public hearing, by the way. Discussion from the board.
I did have one other question of staff. How long has the county required these inspections? When did this begin?
Supervisor,
Wrong board.
Member Ruge, I've been with the county 16 years, and it's been that since 16 years that I've been here. I can't account for how long before me, but it's always been in the codes.
Right.
Whether the county, I mean, it's been in our fee schedule too, and the fee schedule was last adopted in 2009.
Thank you. It's always been my understanding that this was in the code, so it's not a surprise to me that it's in the code. So, you know, I will say, you know, just on the surface of things, I am typically an anti-regulation person. However, I'm also a builder, and I've also seen an awful lot of job sites with water heaters done incorrectly. And this is an issue where, again, public health and safety, beyond that, you know, ideas, you know, the possibilities of explosions, things like that. Again, I'm a licensed contractor. I would rather not put in my own water heater just for the liability of certain things. I do think something was misspoke earlier. UES is extremely helpful in a lot of situations, but they're very clear when it comes to coming out for turning on appliances, etc. They will not tell you whether something is done correctly or not. They are absolutely, that is not us, that's you. When you tell us turn it on, we make sure everything's there and we turn it on. But they will not do an inspection for you. So that's my...
Mr. Walker?
Yeah, as a contractor, I agree a lot with what Commissioner Ruge just said. I'm in favor of keeping this a permit. My personal water heaters, I hired a plumber just to come out and do because that's not my specialty. And, you know, if you do it wrong, it's a gas unit, there's carbon monoxide, there's a lot of issues that could be not good for people. So I think we should leave it there and make this a permittable action. That's where I stand on that. And going back to, I apologize to building official about the question I had earlier. The city on electrical, if you are a owner-occupied residence, they will do a courtesy inspection. And that's what I was kind of looking at for this, because we have a lot of people that are low income. You know, to add another $73 onto a hot water heater change out, you know, for somebody on a fixed income. So I don't know if the county would look at that in the future. Still doing the inspection, but it's a courtesy inspection. But I'm in favor for keeping this is a permittable action.
Commissioner McGee?
Mr. Chairman, I have deep respect for the building department, and we worked really hard when we went through the IRC several years ago and went through and got rid of a lot of regulations and lots of things that didn't apply to Arizona. So we don't do, Mr. Shazer, as you had mentioned, we don't just do a blanket thumbs up. We actually worked really hard and went through it and got rid of quite a bit of stuff. Not to say that some stuff doesn't slip through and we miss things, but we worked for several weeks as a board and it did a lot of things. That being said, I am probably known as a very limited government guy. I'm a limited regulation guy. I think any time that a municipality puts more regulations on things, it costs the municipality money. It costs time, which is money. Holdups for, I understand that this is a permit that's across the counter, which is certainly helpful. But the holdups for the homeowners and things that they have to wait for. Anytime that you have a regulation or an ordinance that's passed on a municipality or a community, you've got to have a way to enforce it, which is, again, how do we go about as a municipality and enforce this without opening up further regulations, getting lists from Home Depot or Lowe's of how many water heaters are sold, et cetera. So again, and I understand that you're approaching it from a health safety issue, and I certainly appreciate that and take that into consideration. However, like I said, the like for like, and I'm speaking from ignorance from this position. I don't know how many water heaters are incorrectly installed. I've done several myself for my own home, and if I were to recommend, my recommendation would be to either abolish the permit or make it voluntary. I do like the concept of perhaps making it a public announcement or awareness on our site, on the county site, saying, hey, here are some basics of water heaters. If you would like to apply for a permit, we will certainly send an inspector. We've got a great inspection department, great staff, and they are well qualified, and I appreciate them very much. But again, my recommendation would be just basically make it voluntarily or get rid of it personally. And final reason for that is again, was we claim to be a limited regulation state. We don't want people coming here and getting injured because of lack of regulations, but I think what we have a lot happen to us is people come here and they say, well, that's not how we did it in California, or that's not how we did it in Michigan, or that's not how we did it in Nevada. And we become a sub-state of an over-regulated state, which I'm always afraid to do. So anytime that I think that we can mitigate or eliminate a regulation from the public, where I don't see it being a major disaster as far as the water heaters goes, I would recommend making it either voluntary or eliminating the permit process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Board have any other comments? I would like to make a comment on this, and I touched on it a minute ago. Again, as a general contractor who specialized in remodels and some of the things that we have seen in some of the remodels where grandma's brother's uncle's sister's nephew's cousin installed the water heater that was, they felt correctly, was actually installed incorrectly for a life and safety matter. Done a lot of life and safety jobs that were, how do I say this, sponsored by the government, if you will, to bring things up to code for safety for homeowners. I firmly believe in this, that it needs to be inspected due to the fact that of the safety of things. It has nothing to do with money, it has nothing to do with a land grab or any such type of thing. I just honestly feel that it's an extreme safety issue when it comes to the gas, when it comes to the electrical. We saw two pictures, and those pictures are very familiar to me, not that personal two pictures of the electrical, but we see this all the time. Not only are they're not wire nutted, but they're just taped together with electrical tape, or even by the electrical panel, and here we run into a lot of problems. I personally would rather the liability be on the county on their inspection when to inspect it and know that it's okay, because if grandma ends up passing away because of a gas leak, it's on the county and not on Johnny who put the water heater in or the contractor that put it in. My personal feeling. So that's my stance on it. But I do have to ask, am I allowed to vote on this since we have a quorum, but we have 4, or do they 3, and how does that work?
Mr. Chairman, it really depends on how the vote breaks down. Ties are allowed. So that would just go forward, whatever the recommendation is to the Planning and Zoning / Board of Supervisors would go forward as a tie, or you can continue discussion until you convince someone to change their vote, or either any of the above.
Mr. Chair? Yes, I just wanted to check with Christina. Do we have Mr. or Board Member Prophet on the line?
He did not. He did not respond during roll call, no.
We have 4 out of our 6 here. We have a quorum. So again, I would like to stress that we do not make the codes. Our recommendations, our votes that we send are recommendations to the Board of Supervisors based on our experience. This board's experience is, I believe, public, as well as engineers and draftsmen, contractors, electrical engineers, and general contractors. The Board of Supervisors looks at us for our expertise to give them recommendations on what we know as far as our knowledge goes. We're the ones that read the IRC book, as you had stated when we went through a couple of years ago on this. We're the ones that know the codes, and they rely on us on this. So with that said, I would like to be able to ask for a vote on this one way or another to send to the Board of Supervisors on the action of this item.
Before we were to do that, I'd just like to ask if others on the panel would be, supportive of the idea of making this a courtesy inspection. I just did, if you've got 33 permits at $72, that's $2,300. Hardly going to break the county's budget. Possibly move this to being a courtesy inspection, but still require it. I still believe it is something that ought to be required, especially when it comes, gas, water heaters especially. I've had firsthand experience of homes burning down from water heaters. I've also had firsthand experience of people dying and being permanently disabled from monoxide poisoning from this type of a unit. So I don't know if that's one motion or 2 motions.
Are you suggesting a motion, or are you making a motion?
I'd like to make a motion,
Mr. Chairman, may I?
to recommend to the county that we make this a courtesy inspection and waive the fee.
Mr. McGee?
I think for me, it's more of it being a required inspection above anything. And believe me, I've been a general contractor for 35 years, better part of 35, and I understand electricity and I understand gas and I understand that it's, but what would be the difference of changing out my question to everybody, almost rhetorically, is what's the difference between if somebody pulls out a gas stove and replaces a gas stove that has a gas connection, or a direct wire oven, a double oven, or a gas oven electric combo, and doing that? Where do we stop requiring inspections? That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right now, I believe we have a motion on the table. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my original motion,
Is to
require
require
recommend
permits.
that a permit is required, but to waive the fee and make it a courtesy inspection.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one question, please?
The call to the public has been closed.
Just wondering about the automation fees that included in the $70.
I will make a second to the motion on the
Right now,
floor.
we have a motion on the table to waive the fee, but still require a permitted inspection.
Required to be inspected.
And I'll second that.
At this point in time, we have a motion and a second on the table to require, to send to the Board of Supervisors that we suggest requiring a permit, but no fee for the permit of a water heater. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
We have 2 yes and 1 no.
You're also able to vote, Mr. Chair, however you wish to vote.
I vote yes.
It would then pass.
This motion passes and carries to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that we have inspections and you do need a permit, but we recommend no fees for the water heater permit.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, Mr. Holte.
I just wanted to mention that this item is now going to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it's going to go to the Planning and Zoning. I just wanted it on the record that it's going to be in August. It would be the second Wednesday in August, August 13th.
So I stand corrected then, apparently. It goes to the
P&Z,
Planning and Zoning
yeah.
Commission first, before the Board of Supervisors?
That is correct.
Thank you. At this time, the next item of business is our next tentative meeting scheduled for 10/21/25. Does this meet everybody's schedule at this point in time?
Does for me.
Good.
At this time, I have no conflicts.
There's no hunts going on. At this point in time, our next meeting is scheduled for October 21st, 2025. Next item of business is the adjournment.
We don't need any motion, we can just adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.